The Kremlin has released an unusual transcript of a meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and senior defense and other government officials, as well as representatives of Russia's defense industries, regarding the modernization of the country's nuclear command and control infrastructure. The transcript includes a disclosure that indicates work on a new hardened strategic command post, possibly a deeply buried underground bunker, is nearing completion. As per the transcript, President Putin is seen to emphasize a need to ensure the survivability of the country's nuclear command and control infrastructure. He said, "We are aware that a lot depends on the survivability of these systems and their ability to continue operating in a combat environment. They've told me that the creation of an absolutely secure facility for controlling strategic nuclear forces, among others, is nearing completion, and that it will have a very high safety margin." Mr. Putin has stressed keeping the command and control systems working as intended and have well-trained people running them. Putin also called for efforts to modernize the country's nuclear command and control architecture. This video is sponsored by War Thunder. If you are, like us, fascinated by military vehicles and technology, I recommend you give War Thunder a try. It's a military vehicle combat game which you can download and play for free on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. It has a huge variety of more than 1,200 playable aircraft, tanks, helicopters, and ships from the 1930s to the 1990s, which you can take to battle on land, in the air, and at sea on more than 80 theaters of war. War Thunder's been kind enough to offer All Defense Updates viewers a special bonus, which will grant you a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship, and 3 days of premium account time for registering using our link in the description below. So take the plunge and join more than 20 million players from around the world. Germany's parliament has approved a major $6.35 billion contract to purchase heavily modernized Tranche 3 variants of the Eurofighter Typhoon. The deal will allow Germany to phase out its Cold War-era Tornado swept-wing fighters out of service. The new jets will also replace older Tranche 1 Eurofighters, which are currently in service. Air Force Inspector General Ingo Gerhardt stated this important decision was something that will strengthen the Air Force's combat capabilities significantly, as by replacing Tranche 1, which is obsolete and susceptible to repairs, we are increasing the operational readiness of the Eurofighter fleet and thus our reliability in the NATO alliance. The Tranche 4 variant of the Eurofighter has a number of advantages over its predecessors. This includes being the first to integrate an AESA radar, the Captor E Mark I. AESA radars are more powerful than passive electronically scanned array PESA radars, which the German fleet currently still relies on entirely. The upgraded radar will be especially useful in guiding long-range weapons like Meteor air-to-air missiles and are much more difficult to jam, providing better operational reliability. The Tranche 4 Eurofighter also has better avionics and electronic warfare systems. The German Defense Ministry plans in the long term to purchase at least 93 new Eurofighter jets. It's interesting to note that the ministry has resisted calls from within to instead acquire more fifth-generation F-35A fighters from the United States, as done by several European countries like Britain and Belgium. This decision is motivated by a policy that gives priority to the domestic defense sector and ensures an independent military capability. The Indian Air Force said that the second batch of 3 Rafale jets arrived in India after flying non-stop from France. With the induction of these 3 aircraft, the IAF has 8 Rafale jets in service now. The IAF said the 3 Rafale aircraft took off from a French airbase and reached India after 3 mid-air refuelings en route. The aircraft took over 8 hours to reach directly from France, showcasing the long-range operational capability of the Air Force, it added. The first batch of 5 French-origin fighter jet aircraft had arrived in India on July 28th and was officially inducted on September 10th. The Rafale fighters have already been operationalized and have also been deployed amid tensions with China. Viewers may note that India had signed an intergovernmental agreement with France to procure 36 Rafales, as well as weapons like Meteor air-to-air missile. The 4.5 generation aircraft is expected to give a major boost to the Indian Air Force. Fresh images of Chinese H-6N missile carrier aircraft carrying an outsized missile underneath its fuselage have emerged. Still captures from a video showing the H-6N carrying this missile first appeared on Twitter on November 5, 2020. They came from a clip that had been posted on the Chinese social network Weibo, but which appears to have been subsequently taken down. The shape of the missile seems to indicate that the missile could be a hypersonic one. An object is said to be hypersonic once they exceed speeds of Mach 5, that's 5 times the speed of sound. This is about 1,715 meters per second, or 3,836 miles per hour, or 6,174 kilometers per hour. There are currently 3 methods being applied to make hypersonic weapons: using a scramjet engine, deploying air-launched ballistic missiles, and using HGV, or hypersonic glide vehicle. It's unclear what type of missile this particular one is. As per the image, the missile is about 1/3 the length of the H-6N and is likely to be 40 feet. No official details are currently available. USS Ross, which entered the Barents Sea on October 19th to conduct training, has completed operations in the Arctic environment. It was supported by Henry J. Kaiser-class replenishment oiler USNS Laramie, which allowed an uninterrupted supply line. Commander John D. John, Ross's commanding officer, said, "We're applying lessons learned from previous operations above the Arctic Circle to build on our warfighting readiness in this demanding climate." He added further, "With maritime traffic density increasing in the area, it's more important than ever that we continue to answer the call to maintain regional stability and freedom of navigation in the Arctic region." It's to be noted, as the ice caps melt in the Arctic, it will become economically viable to navigate, and hence the U.S. military is looking to expand its presence. The Israeli Air Force has announced that its uniquely outfitted test variant of the F-35I stealth fighter has arrived in the country. The one-off version of the Adir, as the aircraft is named in Israel, touched down at Tel Nof Air Force Base. Described by the Israeli Air Force, IAF, as the first test F-35 outside the United States, the specially equipped F-35I will join the service's Flight Testing Center (FTC) squadron, also known by its Hebrew acronym MENAT. The squadron is responsible for putting all of its equipment through its paces, including aircraft and weapons validation, avionics testing, etc. It's important to note that the Test Adir can be converted to a fully operational configuration. Israel has already flown its F-35Is in combat, as disclosed by the Israeli Air Force back in 2018. General David Berger, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, has indicated that the Marine Corps could also contribute to anti-submarine operations in the future. The revelation came in an article published in the November 2020 edition of the U.S. Naval Institute's magazine, Proceedings. Berger stated, "Nearly 2 years ago, my predecessor, former Commandant General Robert Neller, drew applause at the 2019 Naval Institute AFCEA West Conference when he said, 'We're going to have to fight to get to the fight, and I think we're going to need more submarines in a fight against a peer adversary.' While those were bold statements from a Marine general, I'm ready to take that line of thinking even further. The undersea fight will be so critical in the high north and in the western Pacific that the Marine Corps must be part of it." In his article, Berger described various ways the Marines could take on the task to hunt and kill enemy submarines. This includes using unmanned aircraft to deploy sonobuoy arrays and other anti-submarine warfare sensors in the waters around an expeditionary outpost. It's interesting to note that General Atomics is offering Sea Guardian UAV, specially configured for maritime surveillance mission, which includes large surface search radar, and is also working on ways to add under-wing sonobuoy dispensers. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.